take a moment to notice the way your body feels right now, wherever you are resting, whether on a bed or a sofa, with a pillow beneath your head and a blanket close by, allowing your breathing to slow and your shoulders to ease. And as you listen, you can gently let go of the day behind you, leaving thoughts to settle like dust in quiet light. And as this calm begins to surround you, it is a reminder that nothing needs to be done, nothing needs to be solved, and you are safe here in this moment. Your body held, your mind cared for, your night gently unfolding. And soon we'll begin a soft journey through fairy tales and folklore, stories told in slower ways, with edges rounded, tones hushed, characters familiar yet made calm. And as these retellings arrive, they are not meant to excite or puzzle, only to soothe, like pages turned with a warm lamp nearby, or a breeze through an open window at night, carrying simple words at a steady pace. And as you hear them, you can allow yourself to drift, noticing the rhythm, noticing the cadence, trusting the sound to guide you toward rest. And as the background of your own space grows still, your breathing keeps steady time, in and out, in and out, with nothing asked of you except to listen and let go. And in this safe and settled space, where fairy tales become soft companions for your evening, there is nothing more to carry, nothing more to keep, only this time, only this ease, only this gentle unfolding. And with each passing moment, you can let the quiet deepen, and you can let the calm grow, for everything is steady tonight. As we move a little further into the evening, the stories we will share are not told in their old sharp tones, but in softened shapes and slower rhythms, so that even the most familiar tale feels like it has been wrapped in a gentle blanket, and what was once quick or lively becomes calm and steady, as though each character is walking by lamplight instead of torchlight, and each setting is lit by a quiet sky instead of a roaring fire. And in this softened way, the essence of fairy tales and folklore comes forward, not as a puzzle to solve, but as a landscape to wander slowly through, with wide paths, cool breezes, and a sense of safety at every turn. And when you imagine these classic tales told with care, they become like waves brushing a quiet shore, repeating, reshaping, always present but never rushing, each one leaving behind a calm imprint of sound and meaning. And so, as you listen, the stories will open gently, like windows at night, letting in fresh air, or like books resting on a shelf, pages touched by steady hands. And you may notice how folklore and fairy tales connect across time, how their images of forests, cottages, rivers, and skies belong as much to today as too long ago. And yet here, tonight, they are simplified into restful sketches, where every line is slow, every voice is warm, and every ending is softened, so that the path leads not to tension, but to release, not to cliff edges, but to open meadows. And in this way, the tales become companions for sleep, easing you further into rest, reminding you that these familiar stories can be trusted to hold you through the night. And like a lantern shining in a window, they are here to mark the space, steady and kind, and they are here to guide you toward dreams, for everything is steady tonight. The heart of this journey rests in the gentle retelling of fairy tales and folklore, and as we settle into the steady rhythm of the night, we can allow each story to arrive like a soft wave, repeating yet never rushed, circling gently, always familiar, always calm. And in this steady way, the mind can release its hold on the day behind, easing into the rhythm of words that are quiet and measured, where each phrase is a step along a path that curves through lamplight and cool evening air. And in this core space of retelling, we will linger with the essence of the tales themselves, not as lessons, not as puzzles, but as companions, simple and slow. And the refrain will carry through, for everything is steady tonight. And we will carry that thought again and again, like a bell heard from far away, always the same, always calm. A story begins with the shape of a cottage at the edge of a forest, where a candle flickers in the window, And though in the old versions there may have been fear, here the cottage is only a place of safety, with a roof to shelter, walls to hold, and a hearth that gives steady warmth. And the forest outside is not dark or threatening, but filled with the sound of leaves in a gentle wind, the hush of branches swaying slowly, the small creak of wood as it rests. And in this softened retelling, the child who enters the cottage is not lost, but simply wandering, simply pausing, simply welcomed by a chair near the fire and a blanket on the back of the chair. And the tale itself rests here, in the warmth, in the quietness, in the simple rhythm of shelter. And as we return to this image, the refrain settles in, for everything is steady tonight. Another cycle of the story might open on a riverbank, where folklore often places travelers, and here the water moves in an easy line, not quick, not harsh, but smooth, reflecting moonlight in calm patterns, silver shifting slowly across the surface, while reeds bend with the softest touch of breeze, and a figure may appear in the story. Yet they do not struggle, they do not search, they simply watch the river and notice how its steady motion brings comfort. It sounds like a lullaby of flowing water, and as the tale circles here, it is not about the journey forward, but the stillness of the moment, the breath that matches the flow, the sense that in listening to water, one can also rest. And so the story rests here too. And as the words repeat in rhythm, the refrain comes forward, for everything is steady tonight. In the cycle that follows, a mountain rises in the distance, as it does in many legends, but here it is not an obstacle. It is simply a shape, a presence, quiet and unmoving, its slopes softened by mist, its ridges smoothed by starlight, and as we watch it from afar, the mountain becomes like a pillow on the horizon, holding the weight of sky, supporting the stillness of night. And the characters in this version of the tale do not climb or strive. They simply notice, they simply rest in its presence, and the mountain, steady and unmoving, becomes a guide to rest, for everything is steady tonight. Another story drifts into a meadow where folklore often placed gatherings, but here the gathering is not loud or busy. It is a quiet field where grass moves like the tide of an ocean, green and gold beneath moonlight, and small flowers open their faces to the cool night air. And in the center of the meadow, a circle is formed, not of dancing or noise, but of calm companionship. Figures sitting in silence, figures listening to the sound of crickets, the steady song of nighttime, the hush of air passing low across the field. And as this tale repeats itself in softer tones, the meadow becomes a place to pause, to linger, to breathe. And in this space, the refrain is felt again, for everything is steady tonight. With each cycle, the rhythm of storytelling becomes slower, less about the detail of the tale, more about the steady return to calm images. Cottages, rivers, mountains, meadows, each one softened, each one steady, and in repeating them, the body can follow, breathing slower, muscles loosening, thoughts fading. And as the refrain returns, for everything is steady tonight, the story becomes not about reaching an end, but about circling gently, always arriving back at quietness, always arriving back at calm, always reminding you that the night is safe and you are held in its steady rhythm. As the night continues its slow unfolding, we move gently into another layer of fairy tales and folklore, lingering longer with each image, circling back in quiet loops, and adding small clarifications that are never heavy, never rushed, only softly placed, like shells along a shore, spaced and steady. And in this deepened telling, we notice how the stories were once filled with movement and challenge. Yet here, in this softened version, they are smoothed into steady companions, offering no trials to overcome, no puzzles to solve, only a place to rest. And as we move through these layers, the rhythm becomes slower, like a rocking chair on a porch, each sway measured, each motion repeating, and the refrain arrives again, for everything is steady tonight. In the old traditions, certain settings appeared again and again. Forests, rivers, cottages, and paths. And here we've let them open, one by one, not as obstacles, but as resting places, so that the forest is not thick or fearful, but open, filled with tall trees that breathe with you, their leaves stirring like quiet whispers, their trunks holding steady in the cool earth. And when you pause among them, you feel no weight, no worry, only the rhythm of nature moving slowly, and you rest with it. And in this pause, the refrain is heard again, for everything is steady tonight. The rivers too are softened, and where once they were barriers to cross, here they are companions, flowing with gentle sound, glistening in moonlight, offering reflection as smooth as glass. And their current carries no urgency, it only carries calm. And in this cycle, the river becomes not a line to cross, but a song to listen to. And as you listen, the refrain returns, for everything is steady tonight. The cottage is softened as well, and in this deeper layer, we see it not as a place of challenge, but as a home lit by a single lamp, its windows glowing with soft light, its door always open, its hearth warm. And when you step inside, you find not tasks to complete, not questions to answer, only a chair, a table, and the gentle presence of stillness. And in that stillness, the refrain repeats, for everything is steady tonight. And the paths that once led characters through trial now lead nowhere in particular. They wind softly, curving without hurry, bordered by grass, touched by dew, carrying you forward without need. And as you wander these paths, you know that their purpose is not arrival. Their purpose is only the walk itself, the feel of earth beneath your steps, the cool of night air on your skin, the steady cadence of movement that is gentle and unforced. And the refrain comes with it, for everything is steady tonight. To deepen this quietness further, we can place 5 simple images side by side. The forest with its tall and steady trunks, the river with its calm flowing line, the cottage with its warm lamplight, the path with its soft curve into the distance, and the meadow with its wide open field beneath the stars. And as these 5 images rest together, they form a circle of calm, repeating themselves in your mind like the cycle of breath, in and out, steady and assured. And the refrain is there with them, for everything is steady tonight. With each loop, we are not moving forward, but circling back, layering softness over softness, clarifying that each tale has been reshaped into rest, clarifying that the purpose here is not the old rhythm of adventure, but the present rhythm of calm, and clarifying that every detail, from the sound of crickets in the meadow to the glow of moonlight on the river, is here to soothe, to quiet, to steady. And with this understanding, the refrain repeats once more, for everything is steady tonight. And so the tales continue, softened and circling, mountains becoming pillows against the sky, lanterns glowing like stars brought close, companions in the stories sitting quietly together, not speaking, not moving quickly, only sharing the hush of night. And every return to these details is another chance to rest, another chance to let the breath ease, another chance to hear the refrain, for everything is steady tonight. Now we return to the heart of these softened tales, spiraling back to the beginning and letting the images that have carried us this far grow even calmer, even more spacious, so that they feel less like stories and more like steady landscapes unfolding around you. And in this spiral, each element becomes both familiar and new. Familiar because you have seen it before, and new because it is softened again, its edges rounded even further, its light dimmed to the warmest glow, its sounds hushed to the gentlest tone, so that the night itself seems to breathe in rhythm with your own body. And as this rhythm continues, we touch the refrain again, for everything is steady tonight. The cottage is smaller now, more like a lantern than a house, resting at the edge of the woods, its windows glowing faintly, its hearth a steady ember. And as you look at it, the air around it carries no weight, no story to chase, only the comfort of shelter that exists quietly. And you find that simply picturing its light is enough to feel at ease, enough to let your body sink further into rest. And as the image lingers, the refrain repeats, for everything is steady tonight. The forest too has softened, its trees blending into one another, their trunks now more like pillars of quiet than separate forms, and their leaves move like a tide of whispers, all speaking at once, yet saying nothing urgent, only a long, steady hush that feels like the background of night itself. And when you pause to listen, you notice the sound is like your own breath, in and out, in and out, steady and calm, and the refrain rises with it, for everything is steady tonight. The river becomes even slower, more like a mirror than a flow, its surface catching the moonlight in long bands, silver stretched across still water, and the sound of it is not rushing but repeating, like a lullaby sung far away, steady, unwavering, soft. And in this softened state, the river is no longer a crossing or a boundary. It is only a companion, always present, always kind. And as you linger with it, the refrain comes forward again, for everything is steady tonight. The meadow spreads wide, its grasses swaying like an ocean of sleep, each blade moving in rhythm with the breeze, each flower resting open, and the sound of crickets is steady beneath it all, unchanging, unhurried, like a pattern woven into the very air. And in this meadow, you feel no need to move, only to lie back and look at the stars above, stars that seem to hum with quiet light, stars that remain steady through the night. And as you see them, the refrain returns, for everything is steady tonight. With each spiral, the tales are less about characters and more about spaces, less about movement and more about stillness. And in this way, the folklore itself has become a lullaby, its images softened into rhythm, its rhythms softened into rest, until it is no longer about remembering or imagining, but about feeling the steady cadence of night surrounding you. And in that cadence, the refrain is always near, for everything is steady tonight. And as this final segment slows, you may feel the edges of thought loosening, like pages slipping closed, like a lamp being dimmed, like a window curtain drawn across with gentle hands. And in that soft dimming, the stories take their final form, not as words to follow, but as a quiet presence that holds you as though the night itself has leaned closer, steady and kind, repeating in its own breath, for everything is steady tonight, for everything is steady tonight, for everything is steady tonight. And now, with all things softened, all things steady, all things at rest, good night.